must be dead, honey. After driving all night. What time is it?
Almost 4:30. Almost dawn. We should be home in another hour.
This man's name is Martin Gordon. The lovely girl beside him is Brett, his bride of 2 wonderful weeks. It's late August. They're returning from their honeymoon to their home in quiet, peaceful Angel County, California. Martin's Uncle Ben is sheriff of Angel County, and Martin is his senior deputy. Martin has high hopes of succeeding his uncle when Ben retires. But for now, Martin has only the thoughts, emotions, and pride of a very happy, newly married young man. Brett is his, and he feels no man could ask for more.
Uncle Ben, honey.
Jeff reported to Sheriff Ben that a plane had crashed near Willow Creek and that he was going out to investigate. Ben said he would join him as soon as possible. Barney, Ben's junior deputy, was to summon medical aid and to see if he could rouse someone at the Air Authority in San Francisco. By the next day, Colonel Caldwell had the situation well in hand. He had called Washington and received his orders from the highest possible authority. He was to maintain tight security and to await the arrival of a Dr. Bradford, who had been on assignment at the Jodrell Bank Radio Observatory in England. He was the world's leading authority on space emissions and had worked out a series of systems that might lead to communication with other forms of life when, as, and if they were contacted. Caldwell tended to agree with him, but stated he had to follow his orders. One of those orders was to suppress the news of the death of Ben and Jeff, and all news intended for public consumption was to emanate from his office. The Air Authority issued a cover-up story that a plane had crashed and burned, and this was to suffice until the experts cleared up the mystery of the visitor from outer space. Upon arrival, Bradford was to take complete charge of the operation. Martin was outraged by the government's intellectual approach to a monster that had already killed and caused the disappearance of his 2 close friends. Martin was appointed temporary sheriff. He was sure the creature had come from beyond our solar system. It was composed of an alloy unlike anything human science had ever encountered, particularly because it had survived the trials of re-entry and impact without apparent harm. Made Martin feel quite apprehensive. Within 48 hours, Dr. Bradford had closely examined the creature and the spaceship and reached a number of conclusions because it adapted to our environment so quickly, and no planet or dead star near us has conditions similar to the Earth. Of special interest to him was the hull of the ship. The doctor had run a number of tests on the metal, but its molecular structure remained a mystery. Because there was no food on board, Bradford presumed the creature had been in a state of suspended animation. So far, he had no success in communicating with it, but he had not yet exhausted all possibilities. On a more subjective basis, he had the curious feeling that the creature did not want to communicate with him. Such a confession on the part of this eminent scientist. The colonel listened to Martin's theory and, after consulting with Bradford, decided to call Washington. He was told to follow his own good judgment, but under no circumstances was he to alarm the populace. The colonel decided to organize a county-wide search. Martin's assignment was to search the north end of the county.
I didn't know we had company. Look at me, I'm a mess. Don't be impolite. I get the drink.
Now you're talking, honey. What do you have, Barney? Coming up. Would you get the 7, honey?
find it.
Well, that's all right. Just take your time. Barney, you should try marriage. It would do wonders for you.
Despite Brett's most tactful considerations, Barney and Martin had been bachelor buddies for years, but now that Martin was settling down to marriage, they were slowly drifting apart. Barney, naturally, was still dating all the girls in town, and he couldn't understand why Brett and Martin didn't pal around with him more than they did. He couldn't comprehend that married life brought with it not only new problems and duties, but the necessary togetherness of husband and wife as well, that he was. Since time began, this change in relationship has probably happened to all buddies in similar circumstances. Life has its way of making boys grow up, and with marriage, Martin's time had come. His life was now Brett, a life that he thoroughly enjoyed.
We'll be right out.
How about a bourbon and 7?
Such as inviting him over to dinner quite often, Barney was growing resentful of her, or at least she felt.
Poor baby. You'll feel better soon. Poor baby. Let Mommy take your temperature.